The president is going to be going coast to coast next week to try and whip up some support for his party's candidates, but he will not be the only superstar Democrat out on the campaign trail.
We're moving forward, not backwards.
In Delaware Friday, the president tried to rally the faithful to keep Tea Party-backed candidate Christine O'Donnell from taking the Senate seat that used to be Vice President Joe Biden's.
It's really, really important that we keep this momentum going.
In his home state, Vice President Biden is a powerful voice of support for Chris Coons, the Democrats' candidate for Senate. But Biden's reach stretches well beyond Delaware. The vice president has been a much sought-after speaker on the campaign trail, appearing with 43 candidates. He can often go where the president, with low approval ratings due in most part to the economy, cannot. But neither of these current party leaders is in as much demand as a figure from the past.
President Bill Clinton.
This appearance for California gubernatorial candidate Jerry Brown was Bill Clinton's 75th campaign event of the year.
Right now, what Bill Clinton has, he's got all the halo of the 90s, which were a great economic time, and none of the baggage of the new millennium.
All three Democrats are sprinting to the finish line in an effort to counter the enthusiasm of the right, an enthusiasm that stems largely from the grassroots energy of the Tea Party. Projections by the New York Times show that Tea Party candidates are a viable threat in 33 House races around the country. Big rally tomorrow in Ohio. The First Lady will be with the president on the campaign trail for the first time since 2008. But the Republican lead among independents and other is expanding. And Democrats have now pulled their money out of at least 10 House races where it's more and put it where it's more urgently needed elsewhere. So things are looking bad for Democrats at the moment, Chris.
Things are heating up. Bill Plant live for us in Washington this morning. Bill, thank you. All right, for a political look ahead at what to expect over the next 17 days now, CBS News political analyst John Dickerson joins us from Washington as well. John, good morning to you.
Good morning, Chris.
Well, let me just ask you real quick, coming off Bill's piece right there, this star power, will it have the ability to kind of stem this excitement being created by the Tea Party?
Well, it's the best Democrats can do at this moment. No, it can't match the power and enthusiasm in the Tea Party. But right now, Democrats are just trying to build something within their core base, which has come home, as they say, in the last few weeks, but which Democrats really need to turn out in order to save themselves in some of these tough districts so that Democrats can hopefully keep control of the House and the Senate.
Well, let's talk about this, too. Bill even mentioned a second ago some races, candidates just kind of throwing their hands in the air. According to the New York Times estimates right now, 33 Tea-backed party candidates running in toss-up races or House districts that lean Republican. Then on the Senate side, you've got about 6 candidates that could potentially win handily there. So what happens when these Tea Party candidates become congressmen and congresswomen? How does these things change?
Well, it gets ever more exciting in Washington when they get here. It depends whether the Republicans gain control of the House or the Senate in terms of their influence. And it will be different in the Senate and the House. In the Senate, even just one member of the Senate can really box things up. And that's already been the case with some conservative Republicans who sort of were Tea Party before it had a name. So it will be exciting and complicated for the Republican leaders who still have to balance their party and all the members in it in Washington. But it's clear that these Tea Party-backed candidates are coming to Washington not to play along, and so we should see some early indications of conflict between the leaders and the new Tea Party members.
Well, let me ask you this. Do these Tea Party members become their own caucus within Congress, or do they have to move a little bit more mainstream? What do they have to do?
Well, the Tea Party members will come to Washington, and yes, there is a Tea Party caucus in the House, and they will have an early notoriety, particularly if they are seen as responsible for giving Republicans control of the House or the Senate, or both. And so, yes, they will get a lot of notoriety, and they will be able to dictate, in some sense, the direction of the new leadership if Republicans do take control. But again, it's about getting the votes, and so the Republican leaders will have to balance the needs of all their members.
And how do they do that in your estimation? I mean, they've got to be saying to themselves, okay, we've got some change on the way here, but this is, well, maybe it's not totally the change we thought we were going to have.
Well, it's tricky. It's particularly tricky in the Senate, where the majority leader, if Republicans take control, which is looking less likely, but it's quite difficult because senators go off and do their own thing, and the majority leader has quite a tough time. So this will just add more headaches to the Republican leader whether the Republicans are in charge or not. If Republicans take control of the House, it's a little bit easier to keep people in line.
I want to talk to you about this interview coming out tomorrow in New York Times Magazine. The president says, and I quote here, "Given how much stuff was coming at us, we probably spent much more time trying to get the policy right than trying to get the politics right." So let me ask you this. Why is the president speaking like this at this time?
This is a great piece by Peter Baker. Really gives us a look inside of the president's mind. And the reason he's talking like this is he's trying to put a frame, to use a Washington cliche, around these difficult election results. It's so that basically people have a sense and a way to think about the presidency when the bad news comes in on election night.
Well, I was going to say, he sounds as though he's kind of bracing for a rough morning on November 3rd.
Well, he knows it's going to be a rough morning, and so he wants, hopefully, people to think, instead of thinking, boy, what a terrible job Barack Obama did, and this is a referendum on him, he would prefer them to think, you know, he was in there doing just the right thing, and so he paid a political price for it, which is a little bit more gentle of a story than perhaps some of the others that might come out.
The article also goes on to talk about the president already kind of beginning to think about how to reinvent himself, kind of like an Obama 2.0 here. Can I ask you, do you have any idea what this new model is going to look like?
Well, the White House knows and has known for some time that they are going to have a lot more Republicans in town and, in fact, may have to deal with Republican leadership. And basically it means reaching out, and the president still does know how to put on a good show, and you could expect kind of an effort to reach out and sort of redefine Washington on his terms, because everybody will be talking about the new Republicans in town.
All right, John Dickerson, thanks again for getting up early and joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, John. All right.